welcome to the series on Venus on Pearls, What's in Your Jewellery Box. This is a sort of podcast / YouTube on finding out about jewellery wisdom and all sorts of things in between. And today we are with Sophie Parkin, who is my sister. And she is many things in the art world. She is an artist, a poet, a writer. She even has a private members club, which we are in at the moment. Vout-O-Reenees?
Vout-O-Reenees.
Vout-O-Reenees. I can never pronounce it. But at least I remember the spelling. Today we're going to find out about your jewelry. So, how are you?
Very well. Hello, Zuleika. How are you?
First of the talking, so not used to this, so you have to bear with me. But so can you tell us about how your love for jewellery first started and what's your earliest memory?
I suppose my earliest memory is my mother's. My mother always wore a lot of rings, big rings in the 1960s, kind of great big knuckle duster, kind of often with big stones in them. Modernist 1960s jewellery. I suppose something like that is my closest to it. And I was always kind of playing with her rings on her fingers. That was something I remember as a young child doing. And so I suppose I find it quite comforting to have rings on my fingers. It's just annoying in this weather when you have to put gloves on.
No. Also, fingers change sizes. So when it's cold, your rings do end up falling off. But one thing I find about rings that I love so much, and I do tend to wear, and it sort of ends up looking quite, too much bling. But I think it's the first thing most people notice about people is, funny enough, rings. Because it's the hands and moving, people talking, whether you're holding a drink or whatever it is, it's something you're like, oh gosh,
Depends how big it is.
That's true.
If you're wearing an Andrew Logan fried egg like that, people follow you around Venice, the Venice Biennale, if you've got something like that on. So, where did you get that? Where did you get that?
Can you describe to us what your typical everyday jewellery sort of signature look is? Is it
over the top like this? No, I've put loads of stuff on today because I just thought, why not? I don't usually wear this all the time because it's very precious to me and I feel very protective of it. And as Zuleika told me earlier on today, it might well be a billion years old.
Ambers are, they're sort of about 300 million years to much, much older. They're fascinating historically how they began, and they float in the sea, so they're found usually in the coast on various parts. But
this is from India. My mother bought this back and she just gave it to me recently and she said, I want you to have this. And I said, this will always remind me of my mum. But my sister has always been very generous and given me amber. So I've got loads of it. I've got strings and strings and strings of it, which sometimes I wear all together in a kind of homage to Nancy Cunard look. And other times, I'll just kind of wear an amethyst, and I like amethyst because I once read that the ancient Romans, that's what you've told me, I once read that if you wear amethyst, it stops you getting drunk.
Yeah.
So quite handy if you go out to a party. And whether it's the understanding, you put this on because you don't want to drink too much, and therefore it's consciously in your head, I'll only have 1 or 2 glasses of wine at tops. Or it actually does have something.
Yeah, it's sort of it's the Greek, so it's in the Greek's name where amethyst, the word, comes from. It's like Greek amethyn with the O on the end or something. But it meant not drunken, and they generally believed if you drank from amethyst thing. I imagine they had it carved amethyst. There were lots of amethyst. It would stop them getting drunk. But more to the point, it wasn't necessarily about getting drunk. It was stopping them being poisoned.
Well, that's important.
So
in my line of work.
Yeah. And I love when there's little things about certain stones have a sort of thing. So even amber, going back to talking about necklaces, amber has a lot of things about energy and you could say wisdom and things. So a lot of you could say older women tend to wear amber because they feel it gives them a lot of wisdom and more power and things. As for someone young wearing it might be symbolising a new birth or marriage or whatever it is, but it's got a lot of sort of various meanings, and I love amber because I think probably because it's a very organic stone. It's made from resin of a tree. That's how it's first started, and it's very soft. So often you see babies wearing them with for teething necklaces and things because it's sort of
you can't apparently wear perfume directly near it.
No, because it's organic.
So
anything that is organic is by organic as in made from a living organism. So in other words, pearls, anything, they tend to, there's a lot of belief that they soak up your sort of energy, as well as a lot of things. So any chemicals they're porous. I think that's a much better word to use, porous. And there's some pearls, they often say with pearls, they glow when they're on you. But if you end up putting too many chemicals, they will discolour.
Oh, okay.
So, and they will dull down very quickly. And something like turquoise is another good example because you get that wonderful turquoise blue, which was incredibly popular once upon a time in the 60s and 70s. But
I think it's coming back.
It's coming back. Everything's coming back. Is that if they get too much things like, I want to use the word scent rather than perfume, but the thing is it ends up turning them green. So it changes the things. Is but with amber, they just need a love of natural, And that's why what you're wearing is it's quite a funny name, sort of bastard amber. Because bastard amber is when amber's not been heated, and so when they're heated, they're that beautiful sort of warm sort of glow, transparent. As for when they're sort of bastard, they're kind of not been heated. They're just the natural amber being put together. So they're very special.
That's kind of glowy.
Yeah, so they glow.
So some of it is glowing and some of it is not, but I wear it all together. I'm not a specialist of these things. I like wearing real stuff and I like wearing fake stuff all together.
So you've got lots of I do as well. I wear a lot of paste with real jewellery, and a lot of people can't tell if I'm wearing the real stuff or the fake stuff, but I think that's quite fun in the game itself. But with what you're wearing at the moment, you've got a lot of brooches on.
Yeah,
so you've got
brooches.
You've got some hand brooches.
I love the hands.
And you've got, you were saying earlier that you've got the egg brooch, and you've got another brooch with a female golfer.
No, yes, that's my granny.
Is for, exactly. Is our granny, who I sadly never met, but she was a golfing champion.
She looked like Alice Faye. If anybody's looking at this who remembers 1930s film stars, she looked like Alice Faye. She was blonde and she had one of those ski slope noses like this. As she got older, she ended up looking a bit like Miss Piggy.
So have you got any stories you were mentioning one about someone chasing you in Venice?
Oh, was lots of people. When I was at the Venice Biennale and I was wearing the Andrew Logan egg sculpture. It's sculpture he makes, but some of it you can wear. So I just like the surrealism of jewellery. And I suppose the things of when you wear things like hands, that's already a surreal kind of, I don't know, thought because it's chopped off from the arm. I mean, what is a hand doing there? It's ridiculous. It's kind of doing a fake mimic. Look.
Very elegant.
And this has got amethyst in. In fact, this one was given to me by Zuleika. I was so happy when I got this because I'd been looking for one for ages and ages. I mean, practically 10 years I'd been looking for one of these. And then Zuleika gave me it. And what I haven't told her is that the jewel in the ring fell off. But luckily, I had some spare amethyst chips. So I just super glued it back in. So now it's wearing amethyst as opposed to a paste.
It looks like it's always meant to be there. So
yeah, I know.
A great, beautiful creation.
Yeah.
And I bought that in Gray's Antiques. I remember that.
It's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely. So what's the other stuff that I have? So when I wear, most of the time when I wear things, it's got a connection for me. It's not just I like them. I don't get things just because I like it. I feel like there's always a story to tell. So on my rings, for instance, this one is a 1960s Graf ring with diamonds and different varieties of gold in it. And I got given that for giving birth to my son. It was a difficult birth. And I bloody well deserved it.
So you've got what one calls a push ring.
That was more than a push, I can tell you that much. And then this is a Russian wedding ring that my father gave me.
Yeah.
And he gave my sister one too.
Yeah. He always wore one as well.
And he always wore one. I don't know what the significance of wearing one was, but I mean, it was kind of fashionable in the 70s.
It was, but they were. There is actually quite an interesting story with them. They were created by Cartier in, I can't get the exact dates right. I would have to look them up, but I think it was I'm going with 1920. Yeah, well, maybe in the 30s. Anyway, during that time, and I think it was Louis Cartier. I might be wrong there, but he was designed it it's one of the most iconic pieces, because actually, more to the point, it wasn't just the design itself, it's the fact that it's still, even today, there's something timeless, and there is nothing that you can achieve in jewellery that's something that's now coming up to 100 years old in design, and it still looks contemporary, and that is a defeat in itself.
Not a defeat, a feat.
A feat.
And that is a Russian wedding ring, and the idea is one piece is something gold, white gold, one is yellow gold, one is...
Yeah, and I think it was originally designed for one particular artist.
Who?
John Cocteau.
It was designed for Jean Cocteau?
Yeah.
Oh my God, well that's so appropriate, because here we are in Vout-O-Reenees, which is designed really like a stage set of a Jean Cocteau play.
Yeah. I know got in just in a room over there, there's the most amazing, it's from my favourite film, I absolutely loved it, which is in black and white, but Beauty and the Beast, so with the holding the hand.
La Bella La Bête, for those.
I know, it's the most beautiful, and if you've not seen it, it's one film that I think is just one of the most incredible films, because it's so artistically done, and it's not scary, even though the Beast is a bit
beastie. Yeah.
Beastly.
So I do have diamonds in this ring, and I wear my godmother Sylvia Scaffardi's diamond that she gave me. Which came from her mother's diamond mine in Brazil. And that is very special to me because I had a very strong link to her. She was an extraordinary woman, and she started the National Council for Civil Liberties in the 1930s.
Oh, wow.
Just around the corner from here, where she was, her and Ian Forster were on guard to write reports, non-biased reports, of the action of the police, the Mosleyites who were attacking the Jews and the blacks, all in the East End. And it was a Mosleyite march. So the Mosleyites were, they were a fascist brigade at the same time, coming up at the same time as Hitler and the Nazi movement. So it was very brave to stand up as a woman in those days against these total thugs who were just going around beating people up. A bit like the National Front. Except that it was in the aristocracy, and it was in, you know, he was a member of parliament, and it was all kind of allowable at that point. But until all of these writers got together and they said, you know, we can't let this country become like that. And that's so inspiring, because I think you think that you can't do anything, but in fact, you know, if you have passion in your heart, you can do anything you set your mind to. And that includes, you know, changing the way that life is, or the way that you want your life to be. There's never a moment that you can't change.
That's true. There's a lot of, you can get suffragette jewellery, which was always a secret meaning to say you were a member of suffragette without actually saying it. And they had, it's quite fun with the colours, because it's about vote for women. So you would have V was violet, so usually amethyst. For women, you've got, and gosh, I'm getting the pearls for white women, and then you have P. I'm trying to remember the pearls. There's a green. Anyway, it's vote for women in the colour thing. But I was going to say, you're wearing at the moment a Masonic ring, which is a kind of a funny thing, because again, as that's a symbolism of what they are. So, like, another word, a secret thing. So.
Well, I think women, we should all buy these Masonic rings so that the men can't have them anymore. Really bloody well confuse them, because women weren't allowed to be part. They're still not allowed to be part of the lodge. And I know a bit about Masonic rituals and all of that, because when I was at St Martin's School of Art, I had my evening job was working at a place called the Zanzibar, opposite the Masonic Lodge in Great Queen Street. So I used to see them coming and going. And it's all about, well, helping each other get a leg up on the rung, and then keeping the order closed to outsiders. And that included women. So they were very anti the suffrage movement. And without the suffrage movement, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. I wouldn't even be allowed to own a business.
It's true. And I'm very for women doing their own things and standing up to what you believe in.
Well, I'd just like everybody to be equal, please. Yeah. It's not about can we do this. It's just like give everybody equal opportunities. We're all human beings. We all start at the same point. There is no one of us better than anybody else. And, you know, I suppose the thing about jewellery that I object to is it kind of says, when you wear a lot of diamonds and all of that, I'm somehow superior. But it's not. It's just decoration, and people have been decorating themselves since the beginning of time, whether it's with wattle and daub over their body and markings on their skin, to, you know, weaving beads through their hair, or, you know, piercing their body parts, or whatever it is. You know, it goes through every single kind of community. It's a beautifying process.
It's true.
Like wearing makeup.
And some people feel that they, you know, almost feel naked without it, because it becomes part of them.
I would say without my rings, I feel naked.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same. Sometimes I wake up, but then other days I realise I've spent the whole day with no makeup or any jewellery on and anything, and then I'm suddenly like, oh wow, I've survived. So, you know, so can you tell us how this look changes for a special event?
Yes, I probably wear less.
Wear less. More spokely. And do you wish, has there a particular piece you wish you wore more of?
Yes, I think I covered that with this.
With the
this
amber,
is the amber
necklace.
one. I feel very protective towards it, so I don't wear it as often. And then there's, that's it. Also, if I wear this at work, it's incredibly heavy, and I end up getting neck-ache. And, you know, if I wear all my amber at once, I'm just like this at the end of the day.
One particular topic I wanted to talk about is, we sort of touched on it earlier about brooches, and you're a great lover of brooches, and I've always been saying brooches are coming back. I think people always talk about brooches have to be worn in a certain way. As for, I'm wearing one sort of almost like a necklace, but in my front piece where a bow tie or something would go. And I always like wearing them like that because I think it's a great subject topic, you could say.
Well, do you expect to be stopped in the street and somebody said, "Ooh, is that your bow tie?"
No, true. But point is, brooches are really coming back in fashion. Vogue does a lot of big covers of brooches and models wearing them for both women and men. And what do you think of the growing interest in wearing jewellery for men particularly?
I don't think there's any sex divide. I really do. I really have a true belief in the human being. Wear what you like, how you like, when you like. Why have we got these rules and strictures? You should only wear this in the evening. Why not wear it in the morning? There are, you know, the rules that we tie ourselves into are man-made. They aren't God rules. They aren't, you know, spiritual rules. And if you agree to adhere to them, you're showing yourself to not be free. And I am a free human being. So I don't adhere to any rules, and I think neither should anybody else. Wear what you like, how you like, when you like.
Well, it's funny enough, it was the Georgians, men, wore a lot of very, very, very big
because
rings
they were all
and things.
peacocks.
Yeah, they were peacocks. Exactly
and the
that.
women were supposed to be kind of dowdy, and you know, obviously we weren't allowed to talk much. We weren't allowed to have any loud laughter. We weren't supposed to be obvious because it was all about the men. That time is gone.
I know.
So, you know, wear what you like, when you like. I love the fact that the other day I was at the bus stop and I started talking to this man who looked fantastic. He had very long hair and he was wearing like a Princess Anne scarf a Hermes scarf round his hair, round his head, like this, just like this. And he had a great big brooch on the side of it. And he just looked fantastic, you know. And I said, you are really rocking it today. You have totally got that look covered. And he said, thank you very much. And who are you? And then we started talking, and then we got on the bus together and we had a bit more of a chat. And then we both got on the tube together. We had a bit more of a chat. And he was going off to he was a fashion designer going off to his studio. And it's about reclaiming things that were only supposed to be for one kind of person. When I grew up, it was like very square people wore scarves on their heads. It's not like that now.
Well, jewellery always was a conversation starter. Tie-pins particularly, and you've got some on your hat, were always gave you sort of a inkling of what that person was about, and it kind of aided conversations. So if you saw a fish or something, you knew they like fishing, or fish in particular, or maybe they just like eating fish. But the point is, it was great, you didn't know what to say. And what I love about jewellery is I think it's the greatest conversation starter, because if you are, and we've all been there, those really awkward drink parties, and you don't know anyone, and you don't know what to say, and you're sort of like, oh gosh. And the greatest thing to break the ice is, oh, I love your earrings, or I love that, oh, tell me more about that brooch. And then hopefully, as you found with, you know, that person at the bus stop, is that even just that little, whether it was the headscarf, but it was the brooch or whatever it was that caught your eye, it broke the ice, and immediately you've, you know, a total stranger has suddenly put you into a journey, and you got a lot more out of him just from that one piece. And is it someone walking down the street dressing loud to look loud, or is it that they become part of them? And I do think there's an element with jewellery. A lot of people are quite scared wearing jewellery,
it's
especially
expression.
big.
It's self-expression, and you know, all jewellery is ornamentation. So it's, you're making yourself look as glorious as a peacock as you can. And you know, running a club where a lot of, I mean, my ideal with starting Vout-O-Reenees was, I wanted it to be the kind of place where a woman could come by herself and not be hit on. Because that is, as you know, one of the most annoying things. Like, if you're not up in that game, you don't want to be pounced on. Why do men do it? But they do it.
I know, I've
and I
experienced that
wanted
in
to
another
have
club.
that kind of spirit where women could come by themselves, feel perfectly comfortable with turning to somebody and having a conversation, and not feeling like they were, you know, signing some sort of document that they'd agree to go to bed with somebody just because they were talking with them at a bar or in a club atmosphere. And I feel like, you know, it's the kind of place where you don't even need a piece of jewellery to have a conversation.
No.
You can just go up to somebody and just go, hello, my name's Sophie, who are you? And you don't even have to talk about what you do. It's, you're in a place, in a time.
It's funny that, isn't it, that when you meet someone, the first question you more or less say, so what do you do?
That's, well, that's a bit of a kind of jewellery conversation thing, isn't it? If you don't have a piece of jewellery, they're going to ask you what you do, because they don't know where else to go. And, you know, maybe if you were wearing stunning earrings, they'd go, oh, tell me about your earrings. So immediately you bypass that point and you go into the storytelling, which is the kind of deepest way to connect people, is you tell each other stories. And it's the way you tell the stories which makes people understand what kind of person you are.
What do you think about vintage jewellery?
I love it because it's sustainable, and that's what everybody should be going towards at this moment. So the fact that you have this company that just sells vintage pieces, of course, some people might be a bit freaked out because they just want everything new, but you can't be like that anymore. And the fact that things have history is wonderful, because you've got this whole richness that it's the past, it's the future, and you're its present owner.
Yeah, I always find it something quite ironic about, especially diamonds, where someone only wants something completely brand new for an engagement ring. And yet a diamond is itself from the core of our earth, and it's travelled all this incredible journey with the right pressure and the right temperature just to get to what it is. And they are about, on average, 25 million years old. So there's a huge amount of little bit of history, you know, that's totally beyond our own history. And yet, you know, they've got those little things. And so people want totally brand new, totally what I call clinical looks of everything looks completely perfect. It's all been laser cut to be perfect. And with antique and vintage jewellery, they have been hand cut, there's something being much more thoughts being into the design. There's something, you could say handmade. And usually the things that are made, they have a lot of symbolism as well, or stories.
But do you think that it's this idea of when something is laser cut, it's the precision, it's like having something made in a factory. It's not individual and it's not personal, and so it is less human-like. And I personally would prefer something that is made by a human with all of its tiny little flaws and imperfections, which is just like looking at a painting. It has the signature of the person who's made it woven into it, and that handcrafted thing. I think that's what we're all trying to get back to, that individual. Somebody has handmade this for you. Well, it might have not originally been for you. It might have been for somebody 200 years before, but aren't you lucky that you get to wear history on your hand or on your lapel?
Or literally wearing a hand on your jacket as you are. I mean, I always find hands are quite a funny thing because they all come from the hand gesture, quite literally. And we use hands to do a handshake, or using hands to serve someone, or whatever it is.
Washing up.
Or saying, waving hello. And that's what's so rather wonderful about just something as simple as my hand or whatever it is. And they're quite fun. Or even to put a middle finger up. And the point is, you can get some very, very naughty hand gesture in jewellery. Even the sign of the devil or whatever it is, or someone else said to me
once. The symbolism is great because it really connects to the Surrealist movement, which I am a big fan of, obviously, as you can see in my club. But that idea that you're taking from the unconscious self just makes everything funnier, really.
Yeah, it's true. And what you were saying earlier about looking at a painting as sort of story, and actually funny enough, it was what our many articles saying what Daddy said, because our father was an art dealer, and he always said every picture has a story to tell. And I think it's so true in jewellery, because jewellery is literally miniature artworks. So, and it's not just looking at the front and seeing how pretty and beautiful they're made. There's so much stories you can tell just on the back of it. And not all jewellery has a hallmark or a signature or who's made it by. But you can tell so much just from, looking at them.
Well, that's what you're here to do, is to tell the stories.
That's true.
Anyway, it's been lovely talking to you, Zuleika, today.
Thank you, Sophie. And thank you for taking your time to do this podcast and talk and everything. So thank you.